Imagine a world lit only by gas lamps and candles. A world where electricity is a mysterious, almost magical force, confined to laboratories and grand public displays. The year is 1881, and the dream of bringing this magic into our homes is just beginning to flicker to life. But this dream would soon reveal its dark and dangerous side, leading to a tragedy that would forever change the way we live with electricity. This is the story of the first home electrocution, a shocking event that forced a new era of safety upon the electrical age. Our story begins in the bustling city of Philadelphia. The star of the show isn't a person, but a technology, the arc lamp, invented by Charles Brush. These lamps were incredibly bright, casting a powerful, almost harsh, bluish-white light. They were perfect for lighting streets, factories, and large public spaces. By 1881, thousands of these arc lamps were illuminating American cities, powered by high-voltage, direct current, or DC. This was the era of Thomas Edison's rivals, and companies were racing to electrify the nation. One such company was the Brush Electric Light Company, a pioneer in this new industry. The problem was, these arc lighting systems were industrial strength. They operated at extremely high voltages, often several thousand volts, to push the current over long distances and power multiple lamps in a series. Think of it like a string of old Christmas lights. If one goes out, they all go out, and the full voltage is present across the entire circuit. Its high voltage was incredibly dangerous, a fact well known to the linemen who worked with the wires every day. But for the general public, electricity was still a marvel, a spectacle, not something to be feared in their own homes. Enter Dr. Charles K.D. Eskin, a respected dentist living in Philadelphia. Dr. Eskin was what we might call an early adopter. He was fascinated by new technology and wanted to bring the modern miracle of electric light into his home. He wasn't content with the dim, flickering gas lights of the era. He wanted the brilliant, steady glow of an arc lamp. So, he contracted with the local Brush Electric Light Company to install one right in his front parlor. This was an exceptionally rare and forward-thinking move. At the time, almost no one had electric lighting inside their private residence. It was a novelty, a status symbol, a glimpse into the future. The installation itself was a sign of the times. There were no standardized practices, no electrical codes, no safety inspectors. The linemen simply ran 2 wires from the main power lines on the street, through a window frame, and down to the arc lamp in Dr. Eskin's parlor. The wires were likely poorly insulated, and the connections were crude by today's standards. It was a makeshift solution to bring an industrial technology into a domestic setting. The system was turned on, and for a short while, Dr. Eskin's home became a beacon of modernity. Its parlor bathed in a light far brighter than any of his neighbors could imagine. The fateful day was October 8, 1881. A storm had been brewing, and rain was lashing against the city. That evening, Dr. Eskin was at home, enjoying his futuristic lighting. He noticed that the lamp was flickering and not burning as brightly as it should. Being a man of science and action, he decided to investigate the problem himself. This would be his fatal mistake. He approached the lamp, likely intending to make a simple adjustment. What he didn't realize was that the damp conditions had created a perfect storm for an electrical disaster. The floor was likely damp from the weather. The lamp's metal casing, which should have been safe to touch, was not. Due to the primitive wiring and lack of proper grounding, the high-voltage current had found a path to the lamp's exterior. The moment Dr. Eskin touched the metal frame, his body completed the circuit. Several thousand volts of direct current surged through him, finding their path to the ground through his damp shoes. His death was instantaneous. The brilliant light he had so eagerly welcomed into his home had become his executioner. The news of Dr. Eskin's death sent shockwaves through Philadelphia and beyond. It was a terrifying wake-up call. The public had seen electricity as a wonder, a servant. Now, they saw it as a potential killer lurking within their walls. Newspapers ran sensational headlines about the invisible agent of death. The incident became a national story, casting a dark shadow over the burgeoning electrical industry. How could this miracle of science be so deadly? The official investigation that followed was a landmark moment. The coroner's jury was tasked with understanding how this tragedy could have happened. They interviewed electricians, linemen, and company officials. What they discovered was a terrifying lack of safety standards. They learned about the immense voltages used for arc lighting and the shoddy, unregulated installation methods. The jury's conclusion was blunt and damning. They ruled Dr. Askin's death an accidental killing, but placed the blame squarely on the Brush Electric Light Company. They condemned the company for its gross carelessness in installing such a high-voltage system in a private home without any safeguards. More importantly, the jury issued a set of recommendations that would become the blueprint for future electrical safety. They called for better insulation on all wires, mandatory grounding of all electrical equipment, and a ban on running high-voltage lines directly into residences. They insisted that switches and fuses be installed to protect users, and that all installations be inspected by a competent authority. In essence, they were inventing the concept of an electrical code from scratch. They were demanding that the industry stop its reckless rush for profit and start taking human life seriously. This tragedy and the subsequent public outcry had a profound impact. It was a major blow to the high-voltage DC systems used for arc lighting. It also became a powerful talking point in the infamous War of the Currents that was brewing between Thomas Edison and his DC systems, and George Westinghouse with Nikola Tesla's alternating current, or AC. Edison, a master of public relations, seized on the event. He argued that high-voltage systems, whether DC or AC, were inherently too dangerous for home use. He promoted his own low-voltage DC system around 110 volts as the only safe option for residential lighting. While Edison's system was indeed safer, the industry as a whole realized that safety couldn't be an afterthought. The Philadelphia incident and others that followed forced insurance companies to take notice. Fire was a huge risk with early electrical wiring, and electrocution was now a documented danger. The National Board of Fire Underwriters, tired of paying for fires caused by shoddy electrical work, stepped in. In 1897, they published the first edition of the National Electrical Code, or NES. This document was a direct descendant of the recommendations made by the coroner's jury in Philadelphia 16 years earlier. The NEC standardized everything from the type of wire and insulation to be used to the proper way to install outlets, switches, and circuit breakers. It established the principles of grounding and overcurrent protection that are fundamental to electrical safety today. It became the Bible for electricians across the country, ensuring that every installation met a minimum standard of safety. So, the next time you plug in your phone, turn on a light, or use any appliance in your home, take a moment to think about Dr. Charles Askin. His tragic death in 1881 was not in vain. It was the shock that awakened the world to the dangers of electricity and forced the creation of the rules and regulations that keep us safe every single day. The invisible force that powers our modern lives is tamed and controlled thanks to the hard lessons learned from that rainy night in Philadelphia. It's a sobering reminder that every great technological leap forward is often built on a foundation of trial, error, and sometimes tragedy. The story of the first home electrocution is a crucial chapter in the history of technology, marking the moment we stopped just marveling at electricity and started learning how to live with it safely. Thanks for watching. If you found this piece of history as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the technology that shapes our world. See you next time.